Welcome to the Legacy Leaders Podcast. Are you doing the best for your client to help them create their legacy? Are you creating a plan that goes far beyond finances to help people ensure that it becomes the driving force behind all decisions? On this podcast, hosts Katie Beth Hand and Stan Miller will help you with growing your practice and your clients' peace of mind. Together, they bring the best and brightest minds to share with you how to help your clients develop their best legacy. And now, here are your hosts, Katie Beth and Stan.
Welcome, everyone, to Legacy Leaders Network. I'm Chuck Gore, your co-host today, and I'm excited today to be joined by Richard Zack. He's the CEO of eternalme.com. So, Richard, thanks for joining us today.
I got to stop you. It's eternal.me.
Oh, eternal.me. I'm so sorry. Eternal.me. And it's spelled just like it sounds. So,
yep.
Richard, thanks for being here today. Tell us a little bit about your background and how Eternal Me, came to formation.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. So I've been in love with the internet since I was about 14 years old. I heard about this thing in 1994. I was a teenager. I thought it was going to change the world, and I wanted to be a part of it. Unfortunately for me, living outside of Cleveland, Ohio, in a rural county, there was no internet access. It was a long distance phone call. So getting online meant spending my lunch money every day at lunch, and could only get online for a few minutes. So to solve this problem and to get myself online, I created a plan to build the first internet service provider in Geauga County, Ohio in 1994 when I was a teenager in high school. And I did this selfishly to get myself online and then to get my friends online. And I found a way to do it by building a business. And what I didn't realize at the time was that I wasn't the only person with that problem. And thousands of my closest friends all around me in Northeast Ohio had the same problem and needed to get online. So my first entrepreneurial journey, solving a problem that I myself had, did very well. I did have a nice exit. I was one of those tech guys in the dot-com era that was living large when I was 18 years old. That didn't last, never does. But that thought of, I have a problem, I need to solve it. And maybe there's other people who have this problem that could be solved. That's really carried with me throughout my career in internet technology. And I know I have a baby face, but believe it or not, I've been doing this for 30 years. And I've helped launch several internet companies. And I've also been a global vice president at major software companies with software on the space shuttle and in the federal government. And I've worked on some of the most complex software that's out there. But an interesting thing happened a few years ago when our third child was born. My wife and I had some time off of work, and we decided it was time to revisit our estate plan. Mm-hmm. We had first put our estate plan together 10 years prior when our first child was born, and I think we felt really good about it. We worked with a estate planner. We had a nice little signing ceremony, got it all done. That baby went right in the drawer, and we didn't, unfortunately, really look at it for the next 10 years, right? And in hindsight,
just like everybody else does,
just like everybody, right? And in hindsight, we probably didn't properly fund the trust, and there were sort of some issues in there, but we felt really good about it. We got it done. So we pulled that thing out and we revisited, and we realized that there's a lot of changes that have happened in the past 10 years. Houses, children, jobs, assets, liability, things have changed. We need an update. So we go to estate planners. We start looking for some, and we found a couple really, really excellent forward-thinking ones. And I remember in one of our intake meetings, we got to the point where we were talking about how to structure what a plan might look like. And I'm sitting here going like, he hasn't asked me anything about my digital assets yet. Now, I might be a little bit of an outlier, and I'm a technologist. I got hundreds of online accounts. I have investments in crypto and NFTs, but I also have domain names and a significant amount of online accounts and other assets online. And so when I asked him about that, he took his, we were in person, he took his notebook and flipped it around and slid it across the desk at me real smooth and said, just go ahead and write them down. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. That's not for me. I must be not talking to the right estate planner. Right. That's what I thought.
Yes.
Because it's 2023 at the time, right? At the time it's 2023, and there has to be a modern way to intake these assets in a secure way. Because as an internet expert, a network and system security background, I got to tell you, writing down or putting any kind of digital assets on paper or on a spreadsheet is extremely risky thing to do. So I said, all right, well, go talk to a few more estate planners, see if I can find one. Talked to several, and what I found was there really, it was not, there was no software, really no modern intake software that could handle my digital estate. And so it felt a lot like it did back in the basement in 1994, where I have a problem. I need my digital estate planned. So I'm going to build a solution for it and see if anyone else has the same problem. And gosh, wouldn't you know, it turned out that we all have this problem. Everybody has digital accounts. Everybody has a digital estate. And for those of us working with estate planners, there's very few choices for how to really handle it properly in an estate plan, which isn't a big deal, right? Except for the potential consequences if we don't include it into a estate plan.
Right.
That really led me to start looking for what's the solution? How could this work? What would the technology have to look like? What kind of people would need to be involved to make this really work in a sustainable way? And so that led to the founding of Eternal Me, and we've built a platform for estate and financial planners to make it really easy to wrangle all this stuff, to wrangle digital estates, and to make effective estate plans that include it all from that perspective.
Well, that was back in 2023.
That was 2023. Yep.
Wow. So tell us how you've grown from 2023 to, now in 2025. What's the path been like?
Yeah. I started by writing a lot of software.
Sure.
Going from someone, my prior career, I managed a team of 120 people. So I was like a manager, right? I had gotten out of the writing software world as my career progressed. And so all of a sudden it's me back at my keyboard, right? So I started writing a lot of code and trying to determine myself how this would work. But I realized pretty quickly that this problem is a highly technically advanced problem, actually, underneath the hood. So I needed some experts involved. So one of the first things I did was teamed up with a trust and estates lawyer, an AgTech fellow named Jennifer Zagel, who is a leading expert on how to handle digital assets in estate plans, and really started diving in with her on the legal ins and outs of how this has to work from a legal perspective. And that really guided the development of the product, because as we untangle the legal tangles, that directly translates to how the software is written and how the software help people work.
Because you're not an attorney. You didn't sleep at a Holiday Inn Express last night. Yeah. So she was able to put those pieces together.
Yeah. So working with Jennifer really sort of helped me understand this, not only the scope of the problem, but how the software needs to work with estate problems, estate planners. And, the scope of this thing was even bigger than I could ever imagine, I have to say. But to your point, we continued building software. We continued adding and bringing on law firms in different states. So we now have law firms in 8 different states who are working with our software and who are incorporating digital estates in their estate plans. And we sort of expanded the company and the operations to be able to meet, the needs of the customers coming in.
Okay. Now, when it comes, you said 8 states, but I know with, each state is unique with their laws. Is it do you have the program for each individual state? If there's somebody in Idaho or an attorney or financial planner in Louisiana, so you're able to, and that's the way to do it.
I mean, this is like part of the crux of the problem is the complexity of this world, right? We have thousands of different digital asset providers in all 50 states, Canada, and virtually every country. And depending upon the provider and depending upon the state you live in, the estate planner may need to follow the laws of the state that the provider operates in, not necessarily the laws of the state that the decedent or that the client lives in. And sometimes those laws conflict. So We also have a board of advisors of some of the best attorneys around. And what we do when we're opening a new state is we look for what we call pilot partners, who are sort of attorneys in the state who are interested in being the first firm in their state to really get this right and to really launch it. And so we work with the pilot partners, work with our advisory team to make any changes to the system that has to be made for their state. So that's why we're kind of doing it one at a time. We didn't just launch like all 50 states in Canada all at once. We're really
Yeah.
looking for, pilot partners to work with us to get this out because, we're dealing with people's lives and with their money, and we really want to make sure we get it right.
Right. And if somebody has some digital assets, they probably have some significant assets.
Particularly if they're working with estate planners. Now, we all have digital assets of some
Right.
kind.
Yes.
And whether it's Gmail or, Facebook or Coinbase or bank accounts or PayPal or domain names or airline miles, like we all actually have digital assets. But, I think right now the most monetary value is with cryptocurrency,
Right.
and some, you know, unfortunately not all of us have like, 100 million in crypto sitting around, but there's been people who have like lost hundreds of millions of dollars in crypto because they didn't plan it properly.
Right.
And so with 50 million Americans having cryptocurrency, with an average portfolio size of over $50,000, this is like common. Like it's no longer, well, the tech guy's got the crypto. It's actually, most families own crypto now.
Right. Yeah. I get a call weekly, from a client or, a referral that wants to buy some crypto. Yeah. That's just how, things come out. I know before it was, I want to get in the cannabis. Yeah. That was, 5 years ago. That's gone away, but crypto is here to stay. So, I think this is just a great opportunity for people to take advantage of this.
I agree entirely. I mean, the internet is here to stay. Cryptocurrency is here to stay. And boy, wouldn't it be nice if there was if with crypto, wouldn't it be nice if you could just have a little beneficiary designation, but there isn't, right?
No.
So therein lies the problem.
Right.
You can't just like with my, 401k, with my IRAs, with my investment accounts, I can just, work with a estate planner, obviously, to set it properly, but effectively I can set a beneficiary or a contingent beneficiary, and that's legally recognized, and that's a very important tool. Gosh, do we wish there was something like that with crypto, but there isn't, and there likely never will be, not in the same way. So if there was, we might not be having this conversation.
Exactly. Yeah. So eternal.me is able to alleviate that for people.
Yeah. So with eternal.me, managing crypto as a part of an estate plan becomes easy. And we have a way to do it that ensures there's no liability to the estate planner and there's no liability to us as well. We do this using a variety of methods, but one of the key principles is when we're planning for crypto is if you lose that key, if you lose that private key, or if you lose the seed phrase, it's considered permanently gone.
Right.
And so actually something like 18% of Bitcoin is already considered permanently lost. That's like $300 billion. It's already gone forever. So the problem is when it comes to estate planning, it's not necessarily the problem of identifying that you have it, right? I think most people with 10 million in crypto know they have it.
Right.
The problem is how do you securely transfer it when you pass away, and only when you pass away? Because the holder of that key, it's like holding a briefcase full of cash.
Yes.
But it's worse because if I have that key, then I can spend that money at any time, anywhere in the world with zero safeguards and zero checks and balances and zero ability to get any refund. So it's risky to hold that key. So how do you handle that from an estate planning perspective? Well, we use something called a zero trust distributed cold storage network. That's a whole mouthful of technical words.
Right.
And basically what it means is we can hold the keys and we can transfer them at death without ourselves ever having access to them. And so For estate planners, this now becomes a very attractive way our software makes it really easy to help your clients inventory what their digital assets are. Again, whether they're cryptos, NFTs, or any other internet or digital asset like domain names, Gmail accounts, Facebook accounts, we can estate planners can inventory that very easily with their clients and then provide a safe and secure method to transfer all that when somebody passes away to their fiduciaries, whether that's their executor or their trustee or anyone that they legally appoint to do that. And then that way they can sort of carry out those wishes properly when the person is deceased and not before. So I don't have to, my dad doesn't have to give me his crypto keys, and hope that I don't spend the money, right? He can keep those safe in the cold storage vault. And then my mom doesn't have to go looking for them. The estate planners don't have to go looking for them. When somebody passes away, there's already instructions on where they go.
Right. Just like their other traditional assets. So it just makes it easy. Peace of mind.
You got it. We become that benefit. We're like a cousin of the beneficiary
Right.
designation. So that becomes our platform. So your customers can inventory what they have, set their beneficiaries, and ensure that crypto or those assets actually get to them.
Wow. I'm just blown away, Richard. I think this is a phenomenal idea and how you've grown it, in just 2 years, you know.
Thank you.
And this is just something that I know people, not just me, but everybody else has a question about this, and they're going to ask an estate attorney or their financial planner, and they're going to be the same way. Hey, just write it all down for me. And so there's got to be a better way. So this is the better way. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Because I can just imagine, when I was talking with Jared, just me personally, and some of the things in my family, with digital assets when people passed away. And it's just another thing that you got to take care of that, if it could have been handled a lot better and a lot easier with a lot less headaches for your loved ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, I think that's what this ultimately is about
Right.
Not only protecting your own legacy, but not sort of putting this tangled digital mess on your loved ones
Right.
is very important. And, it can even be as simple as like device codes to your phone. Nowadays, so much is in there, right? Like so much is in the phone or
Absolutely.
the computer. And you sort of have the same problem, right? Which is how do you get that to your fiduciary at the right time securely? And because all of the phones and the computer, all the password managers, they all come back to, well, somebody knows the code. Somebody has the fingerprint. Somebody has a way to get in. But what happens when that person's deceased? And it's almost like they just, we'll deal with that later.
Yeah, it's lost. That's not important.
Right.
Yeah, where's the money? That's what people. So, was there anything that you would like to add? There was one question that I wanted to ask, but you could, you might be able to.
Please.
You had talked about pilot organizations and firms. Is that the best way for an estate firm or an estate attorney to reach out to you?
Yes, absolutely. So right now we are looking to expand into all 50 states and Canada, and we're looking to work with law firms in each state to pilot the launch of this. Now, as a pilot partner, you get several benefits like exclusivity in your region for a period of time to help make sure that you get a competitive edge at launching this. You also get significant discounts on pricing, and we will customize it for your firm in any way that it needs to be customized. So we're not available yet in all 50 states, but that is the goal by the end of the year. So firms who are interested in doing this, I would encourage you to reach out or visit eternal.me. You can also email me at richard@eternal.me.
Richard@eternal.me, and eternal.me is the website.
That's it.
So all the information is there. Well, this has been very eye-opening for me, Richard, and I'm glad that there's a program like this that's out there and available, because I know it's in demand, and it's just going to keep growing in demand, for people. So
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you having me on the program today, and always happy to answer any follow-up questions and be in touch at any time.
absolutely. Well, we have your contact information, so people can find you directly. And I'm glad you spent this time with us today. It's been very educational for me, and I'm sure for all our listeners out there.
Likewise. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Richard.
You've been listening to the Legacy Leaders Podcast with Katie Beth Hand and Stan Miller. For more information on them and the show, please visit pinnaclelegacylaw.com. If you like what you've learned today, do share the program with your friends and subscribe wherever podcasts are found.